How's it going, everyone? Dave here, back with another video. Ignore the motorsport simulator going on in the background. I just needed a game that would play itself, um, and wanted to change it up, So I guess if you guys are motorsport fans or fans of cars moving extremely slow, um, feel free to enjoy the footage here. But today, in honor of the channel hitting 200 subscribers, or at time of recording, we're not quite there yet, but I'm very hopeful we'll get there, maybe even by the end of today, if not soon. Um, I thought I would give you guys my top 200 games of all time, but then I realized that 200 is way too large of a number, so I lowered it to 10. I love gaming. This channel is predominantly manga and anime, but every once in a while I like to throw a gaming video in there, and I thought maybe we'd start doing a bit more of gaming here going forward. So first off, I just want to say a brief thank you very much. I say it often. I never thought this channel would reach 2 subscribers, let alone 200. For you guys to just be around and just I don't know. I don't like talking about myself because I kind of hate myself. So I don't like saying nice things about myself, but I appreciate the nice support and the kind words that I've gotten on a lot of my videos. It really means a lot to me. I love making videos. I love talking about manga, anime, video games, whatever. And I like the fact that we're slowly but surely culminating our own kind of little, I guess, community of just homies that love talking about, stuff together. And I like that a lot, and I greatly appreciate it. So if you stumbled across my channel and thought, man, this guy's kind of funny, or hey, I like his take on that anime or that manga, or my manga collection video, you saw that and thought, man, this guy's got a cool manga collection, which it's probably the latter. That's that's really where a lot of the traction comes from, is those manga collection videos. Which hey, I can't hate on it. I love a good manga collection as well. But if any of you guys have popped in from any facet and subscribed or left a comment, just know that it really does mean a lot to me, and I really do greatly appreciate it. So with all that hubbub out of the way, I've literally never said that in the history of my 26 years. So let's get started. I'm gonna crank through the honorable mentions pretty quick, because I wanted to shout out more games than just 10, but I'm probably going to talk and ramble and go on tangents, so I don't want this video being 3 hours. So the honorable mentions I'm going to run through quick, and that's going to be Fallout New Vegas, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle, Dragon Quest 3, Dragon Quest 11, Pokemon Gold, Red Dead Redemption, XCOM 2, Dragon Ball Legacy of Goku 2, and Dragon Ball Tenkaichi 3. Those are my kind of honorable mention video games. There are probably dozens, if not hundreds. Have I played hundreds of games? I would assume so. There are many that I'm definitely probably forgetting. But unfortunately, a lot of my gaming history is kind of lost to time. I spent a good portion of my childhood, I went from having a console, I grew up with the N64, and then the PlayStation 2 was a big one, and then my family got a Wii, and obviously, as we know, the Wii didn't have a whole lot of good stuff on it, at least not for not for someone who, with my gaming tastes, I guess. So I enjoyed the Wii for what it was. It was a fine console, but it just wasn't really for me. But I did have a DS, and I sold my DS many years ago along with all my games, and I don't have the best memories, so I don't actually even remember what I played and what I enjoyed. So that's why I say a lot of it, I think, got lost to time. So a lot of these games may be a bit newer, but they still are great games. And I tried to dig back as far as I could into my gaming history and into my own personal cultural zeitgeist, and pulled out what I thought are 10 games. So I'm gonna stop rambling about nothing and start rambling about the games themselves. 4 through 10, I think could be interchangeable. When we get to 3, 2, and 1, that's when we actually get into the good stuff. Well, it's all good, but like the stuff that's actually in order. So at number 10, I have Star Wars Battlefront 2. The original. The EA Battlefront 2, actually, once they took out the microtransactions and all that, baloney, it's actually not that bad of a game. It's a really fun, game that functions very well. But the original Battlefront 2 is the one that I want to shout out right now. And that's because, I mean, it's just fun. It's just such a good game. It holds up so well. As a big Star Wars fan myself, I've always loved playing as the clones. I've always loved the ground troop elements. Playing as a Jedi, of course, is really fun. You're super overpowered. You can jump really high. It's so sweet and fun. But like playing as the clones, getting into the nitty gritty was great. I remember playing it with my buddies. We would get pizza and we would get some drinks and we would like have our own little command center and we would see how long it would take us to conquer the entire galaxy. And it was just a lot of fun. It was just so much fun. And I, look back on those memories fondly. In fact, there's one memory in particular. I'm playing Battlefront 2 with my neighbor, and we're playing on Hoth, and meanwhile, like, we're playing the game, and then in the next room my dad is knocking down a wall in our kitchen. So we're on Hoth, the snow's flying, and then there's drywall flying everywhere. We're sitting there thinking, oh man, this game is pretty immersive. This is really the pinnacle of gaming here in 2005 or whatever year it was. Like, we're covered in white dust and we were just playing on the snow map. That's crazy. But yeah, it was just a game that it has so much content in it. It's a game that holds up very well, and it's just fun. It's just an enjoyable, tactical, just fun game. You rack up kills, you have fun, and it's just a great game. At number 9, I have XCOM Enemy Unknown. You heard in the honorable mentions, I shouted out XCOM 2. I'm a big XCOM fan. I'm a big tactical guy. But something about Enemy Unknown, like I liked XCOM 2, I really did, and really do like it. But just Enemy Unknown for some reason just did it a little bit better in my opinion. I just preferred Enemy Unknown a lot more. I love the tactical nature of it. I love the gameplay is solid. I'm a big fan of customization. I'm a sucker for that. So you allow me to make a group of all of a bunch of random people. I still remember my General Wiz Cauliflower, like just swamping everyone, just completely taking the board. And then of course we had my tried and true sniper Jib Cribley, like just popping all these alien heads from a distance. We had Tank McGillicuddy, ironically my medic, not the tank. But like we just had like these wonderful troops that like I look back on and I remember these guys and their silly names to this day because they just resonated that heavily with me, and I loved watching them succeed. I was heartbroken when they died and they, and you had to leave one behind, or yeah, no, oh, we can't revive him, we can't do this, and all looking back on those memories, when you finally finished the game, and even now, years later, I can say that game stayed with me and sat with me, and yeah, and I think if a game can actually like give you memories that sit with you, and stay, prevalent in your mind, I think that, means that it's a quality game and a favorite of all time. I talk about my own personal experiences, but the gameplay itself is just fun. It's a solid tactical game. Everything works, everything flows. Yeah, you'll have those, the camera's not the best, and you'll have those instances where your characters still miss a 98% shot just because, but it's that tension, it's that drive that like keeps you playing. It's that one more mission or one more round, or like you're on, this is the last enemy, your squad has been beat up, you fought to hell and back to do the whatever you need to do, and all you have to do is kill this one guy. All you got to do is take out this one enemy. And then your favorite troop finally lands that headshot that not only, finishes the mission, but, ranks him up in the process. And it just leads to this utter euphoria that I just have not felt in a game in a long time. And it is just a quality experience and just a insanely fun game. So definitely XCOM Enemy Unknown is one of my favorite games of all time. Number 8, I have Borderlands 2. Not much I can really say about Borderlands because I'm sure everyone and their mom has played Borderlands 2. It's great. It's a fun game. I love leveling up. I love the combat. I love, the writing isn't the best, especially when we get into Borderlands 3. It turns less kind of silly fun into more cringe. But it's still a good game, right? It's still, at the end of the day, it's still Borderlands, and it's a lot of fun. Um, Getting new guns is always addictive. Getting the new skill point is always addictive. That, leads to, that new skill that you want to try out, leveling up your characters, playing it with friends. It's all just, it's a great looter shooter. And, there have been many games that have come since then. And even Borderlands itself has not been able to just replicate what they did with Borderlands 2. I don't know why they can't seem to do it, but they just can't, apparently, for some reason. But it's just a quality game. Oh, excuse me, my pizza rolls are done. I'll be right back. I am back, and with number 7, we have Dragon Quest 9. I shouted out Dragon Quest 3 and Dragon Quest 11 in the honorable mentions portion. Dragon Quest 9, though, I like better than those games, mainly for one reason and one reason alone, and that's its customization. It is a fantastic game when it comes to customization. I'm a sucker for that. I love RPGs. I love turn-based combat, and Dragon Quest 9 has that in spades. Um, but its customization is so addictive, constantly getting new gear. When you go to a new town, upgrading your party can be created from scratch. You can create multiple party members and create essentially your own little guild of adventurers. Not officially, they kind of just sit around and wait for you if they're not in the party. But like, as a kid and as a little weirdo who loved making up random stories in his head, I would like come up with cool backstories for my characters. I would, make up like what they were doing. Maybe they're off on their own adventure. Like just the world building. That admittedly you kind of have to do yourself, but just the way that the game kind of opens that up for you is a lot of fun. And just building your party in multiple ways just leads to a lot of fun. And Akira Toriyama's art style comes through well. Obviously he did the art for Dragon Quest. So everything just looks really nice and clean, and for it being a DS game, um, it had a lot in there. It had a lot of content. It had pretty, for its time, groundbreaking multiplayer, which unfortunately I didn't actually get the chance to try, because I didn't have any friends who played Dragon Quest 9. But from what I've heard, it was actually pretty great for its time. You could explore and do your own thing and like all be in the same world, and it was pretty great. Um, but the game itself, the story is fine. The gameplay is phenomenal, but that customization, though, man, that's just is so quality, so choice. But yeah, Dragon Quest 9 is a phenomenal RPG. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, customization is top tier, and it is one of my favorite games of all time. At 6, we have Final Fantasy 12. Final Fantasy 12 is my favorite Final Fantasy game. It was the Final Fantasy game I grew up on. Um, the story is great. It gets a lot of parallels to Star Wars Episode 4, um, which, some are true, some aren't. But either way, like it's the writing is great, the characters are great, the gameplay is fun. You're well-oiled machine of a party with the Gambit system coming together and just everything flowing. Especially in the Zodiac Age, the jobs and the expanded job system is really addicting to go through and max out and tweak your party and get the most out of your characters um, and just exploring these really detailed and vibrant worlds. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's the first Final Fantasy that allowed you to actually move the camera. It wasn't like static. So they packed in a lot of extra detail into the worlds because they knew the player would be looking at stuff more often. And that really shows in its art style and in its aesthetic. So Final Fantasy XII is just another fantastic RPG, one that I think gets overlooked, especially in its own series, but I think as a whole as well. Of an RPG that I highly, highly recommend. It's on the Switch as Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. I played it a bunch as a kid on the PlayStation 2, and then I played it on the PS4. So it's actually also on the PS4 as well. I have yet to play it on Switch. I'm gonna give that a try at some point because I do want to play it again. Next at number 5, we have Ni no Kuni 2. I liked Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. I actually played that one second. I love the aesthetic. I love everything about it. But I think Ni no Kuni 2 takes what the first one did and makes it even better. The combat being, like I said, I just mentioned how much I love turn-based combat. But I think it being more action combat, I think fits with the Ni no Kuni formula a little bit more. I loved Evan. I loved Roland. The characters are so quite literally vibrant, not only in their colors, but just in their personalities. I love the story. The story was so interesting and fun, and you wanted to see where these characters went. You wanted to see them succeed. You wanted to see them build up their kingdom and make, a peaceful land for everybody. The side quests are so addictive because a lot of them lead to gaining new citizens for your town and for Evermore and building Evermore up and build it, not only with people but with the actual buildings was very addictive as well. It's a game that I've played through multiple times and another RPG that I highly recommend. It's a great game. Next, number 4. All of these ones I said before, 4 through 10 are kind of tied. This one could take that solid number 4 spot though. This one is a bit ahead of everyone else, and that's Skate 3. Skate 3 is a phenomenal game. I'm sure we all went through that skating phase as a kid, whether it was a month or weekend, a few weeks, whatever, where we're like, oh yeah, I want to get into skateboarding. And then we realized that, as cool as the shoes are, you kind of have to actually skateboard. And it hurts. You're gonna not get it. It takes a lot of effort and time. You fall down on the concrete or on the pavement, that's gonna bruise you up. That's gonna cut you up. And then you stop because you're like, this is too difficult. At least that's what happened to me. I don't know about y'all. But I love skateboarding. I think skateboarding is so cool. I love watching people skateboard. And of course, I love playing skating video games. I grew up on the Tony Hawk's games. I played a bunch of those on the PlayStation 2. But then I want to say early high school, if not late middle school, my buddies introduced me to Skate 3. They say, hey, Dave, this skate game's really fun. You should play it with us. I said, hell yeah, okay. And then I started playing it, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is the pinnacle of not only skating games, but sports games. You think, especially coming from Tony Hawk, I'm thinking like, oh my god, all these tricks are supposed to be done with the right stick. There's no buttons, or well, I mean, there are buttons, but like, because the Tony Hawk games, a lot of your tricks are done with button combinations. So it's like, how am I going to do any of the tricks? This doesn't make any sense. And then you play Skate 3 for 2 seconds and you realize, oh, this is the way to do it. This is the best way this is the proper way to play a skateboarding game. It's just like it's a game that is just so much fun to play. Like it holds up to this day, and the game itself is just legitimately one of the best experiences when it comes to actually playing a video game. Like, yes, there are story, there's characters, there's all these other elements that go into a video game, but like when it comes to a strict gameplay perspective, Skate 3 is one of those games that just is just masterful. It's just a masterful game to actually play. It feels great. It's fun. And then, of course, like I mentioned, being a sucker for customization, I loved being able to customize not only my deck, but my skater and all of the skaters on my team, and building up my own team. And again, being a little weirdo that loved making up stories, I had, the ninja skater who was like raised in a tribe of ninjas, so he wore all black, and all of his tricks were like grab tricks and like crazy air acrobatics. And then of course we got the rabble rouser guy who's like who's the bad boy of skating, so he don't take no crud from nobody. And then and then we've got me, the little chubby weirdo in a green sweatshirt and a baseball hat, trying to hold it all together, introducing the Doughboys skating team. Like, it was just like that extra layer just made it so much more. Skate 3 is a game that I've legitimately played through in its entirety, I want to say 3 or 4 times. And unfortunately, I sold my Xbox a few years ago. But I can't wait until I can play it through that fifth time, or however many times it'll be. I think about how much I want to play Skate 3 again, and I can't wait until that opportunity comes around. Um, but yeah. Next, so here we are, our top three. At three, I'm gonna try to speed these up because I feel like these three games are pretty self-explanatory with how good they are, and I feel like I've been talking forever. So at number three, we have Fire Emblem Three Houses. Fire Emblem is one of my favorite franchises. Actually, I forgot in honorable mentions, I wanted to shout out Fire Emblem Awakening. That's a fantastic game as well. But Three Houses is my favorite game in the Fire Emblem series. Just the characters are so well written. The social aspects, building up those things. It's very similar to XCOM when you want these characters to succeed. You want to see where they go. You legitimately grow attached to them as not only characters but like as people. As weird as that may sound, and it's just such a joy to like grow with them. And especially in Three Houses, you're their teacher, you're their tutor, so it just becomes this very cool thing where you just grow attached to these units. And the gameplay of course is fun, it's solid as ever. A whole wealth of content. You can play the game through at least 3 times because you have the 3 houses to choose from. I played it through, I want to say 5 or 6 times. And it's just enjoyable every time, picking different partnerships, relationship wise. That changes the game too at the end. You'll get little blurbs of like, depending on who your main character married, depending on which characters you paired up together, they may have a little blurb at the end about how their lives turn out afterwards. And it's just a very addicting game. Watching your characters grow is just so much fun, and it plays super well, and it's a wonderful game. At number two, this game was my favorite game of all time for the longest time until number one overtook it, and that is Dragon Quest Origins. I love Dragon Quest Origins. It is so sad to see how far BioWare have fallen. I don't know how much of that is on them or how much of that is EA just being EA, but Dragon Quest Origins is a fantastic RPG. Its namesake, its origins, allow you and your buddy to have two completely different playthroughs depending on who you pick. I've played through every single origin story. I've played through the game multiple times. The turn-based combat is a little rough. It can definitely take a minute to get used to. Like, you'll be tapping your, it's very much like Knights of the Old Republic. combat where you like press something and then it kind of takes a minute for your character to do that activity, and then they kind of just keep doing it. You don't need to press it multiple times, so that feels a little weird when you first start. But once you get used to it, that combat is actually really solid and a lot of fun. Um, and again, kind of like Final Fantasy XII's combat, when everything clicks, your unit kind of feels like a well-oiled machine. Lots of great customization with your party members. The party members themselves are also really well written and really interesting. The game itself is so cool and kind of different, at least in the sense of like it's not this high fantasy epic. It's very gritty. It's very gory. It's dark. Like it really shows kind of the backside of like what fantasy life could be. We get this kind of whimsical stuff in other properties, but in Dragon Age Origins it's very like dark. Like it's very political. There's a lot of bad stuff going on, not just with the Darkspawn but just in the world as a whole, like, and it shows you that. So that just leads to a really interesting game. But yeah, it's a phenomenal RPG, a lot of fun, couldn't recommend it enough. And it was my favorite game of all time for most of my life until this game came out. And that is, of course, as a huge fan of the superhero, it has gotta be Spider-Man on the PS4. I am a huge Spider-Man fan. I've been a Spider-Man fan my entire life. He has been my favorite superhero my entire life. And that game came out on PS4 and I was immediately hooked. I have legitimately 100% Spider-Man. Every activity, every photo taken, every crime broken up, every suit collected, every random stupid science building thing done for Harry or whatever. I've done all of that 4 times. I have 400% Spider-Man because it is just so much fun to play. In the same vein of Skate 3, it's a game that no matter what you're doing, like these side quests could be dog water, they could be bad, but the gameplay itself, it is so good to actually play that it's just a phenomenal game. And I love it so much. I don't own a PS4 anymore, but I still own my copy of Spider-Man just because I love the game so much. Even though I can't play it because I don't have the console, but I just couldn't bring myself to actually sell it because it's just that great of a game. And collecting the suits is great. I love the lore behind it, of obviously being a big Spider-Man fan. I love the characters that they put in. Yuri Lowenthal is one of, if not my favorite. Well, he is my favorite voice actor of all time. I made a list a while back of my top 5 favorite voice actors in anime, because Yuri has voiced some people in anime as well. But yeah, it's a phenomenal game. Love Spider-Man, love that game. Miles Morales is also a very solid game. That probably should have been on my honorable mentions as well. But I unfortunately just didn't get enough time with it because I bought it near the tail end of my PS4 experience. Like, I bought it, played it, I loved it, I played through the whole thing. But then I sold my PS4 not long after, so I didn't really get to play it multiple times and everything like that. But I am super excited for Spider-Man 2, I guess they're calling it. I still have yet to get a PS5, but I definitely am going to get one because I cannot wait to play that game. But anyway, speaking of games, those are my top 10 video games of all time, plus some extras, some honorable mentions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I'm sure this video is going to be a tad long, but hopefully that's okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys again. Hopefully we hit 200 soon, if we haven't already. Thank you guys again for the support. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling about video games. If you want to see more like this, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment of your favorite games. I would love to hear them. I legitimately would. I try my best to answer, or at the very least, like and, give a little heart to every comment I see, just because I want you guys to know how much I appreciate you interacting with the video and, giving your opinions on stuff. So, that being that, I'm going to go eat my pizza rolls because they're probably cold by now. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.